G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder. Now, before we actually get into the meat of the video, I'm going to do a couple of things. So first of all, this is a separate clip from the main event, and as you can see, I am committing the biggest war crime in the whole of War Thunder. That is carrying bombs on a fighter. Now, the reason why is because I wanted to see exactly how badly it hampers the performance of the T-2. And as you can see, I've been flying in a straight line for 2 minutes now, and I haven't even gotten the vapor cloud yet. I haven't even hit 0.94, and I'm basically at the speed of a Sabre. Now, obviously this is worst case scenario, but this is exactly what happens when you take bombs and rockets in a fighter and go fighting. You hamper your performance so badly that in the case of the T2, you're actually not able to dodge a guided missile. So there we go, kids. Never take never take bombs and rockets in your fighter. A couple of other things I would like to quickly discuss before we get on to the main event is basically with my YouTube channel. I've gotten a membership function now. So if you want to support that, then just click join. I've got some badges and I've got some emotes that are YouTube specific. So, maybe we can have a fun time with that. They're all Papegas with different colored hats. So, maybe you'd like a Papega next to your name on my channel when you comment. So, if you'd like that, then you're more than welcome to join. I've also got a couple of other things that I'm going to do. So tonight, as this video goes up, I will be on Mystic Man's channel. We'll be casting a War Thunder tournament. It's not anything terribly special. It's just the D-Day tournament. But, we're going to see some pretty interesting battles, and we're going to see some pretty interesting fights. I've been watching the tournaments over the last couple of days, and it's been really, really entertaining. Genuinely so. Like the fights, sometimes the absolute lockout that some of the teams are able to do, and the comebacks that you can see are really, really entertaining. Good fun to watch. So I'll leave a link to Mystic's channel in the description, and you can come and join if you want. And finally, one last thing is a couple of days ago I received a package in the mail that was from Oxy. Now, if you don't know who Oxy is a fellow YouTuber and streamer, something like that. Basically, he's probably one of the most well-rounded players in the whole of War Thunder, and essentially, he lives off bugger all. And one of the things that he found is he has aircraft identification cards that date back to World War II, as well as posters and other things that are really, really awesome and unique and special. And he's selling them in frames, and he ships them to you and everything like that through a little online store. And I might leave that in the description because I managed to get my hands on the Hurricane Mark II with the cannons. I can't remember the exact designation. And the BF-109E identification cards. They're bloody awesome. So, if you're into that stuff, I'll leave it in the description. And yeah. Thank you for dealing with this. Anyway, on to the main event. This is the T2. Now, this is also a night battle. Night battles are probably the most annoying thing in the whole game, especially if you don't have radar. And you can see here, not only am I in the best fighter in the entire game, I also have radar, I also have AIM-9Es, I'm spaded, and I'm in a full down tier. We are committing war crimes today, ladies and gents. Not just carrying bombs, but we're clubbing SEALs. Bullying children, basically. MiG-15 BIS, SEAL-13B. Some of these planes don't even have air-to-air missiles. Some of them can't hit Mach 9.95. And most of them are basically just trying to make their way up to something better, can't, and struggle. And the radar is such a strong advantage. You can see there, I eliminate a T2 who's traveling slow, and obviously that's a fault of his own for not keeping his speed up, because that's the number one thing you do in a T2. You play your speed and your energy. And the T2, didn't do that, and, serve the consequences, or serve the punishment, I suppose. Now, this particular battle is probably the best example of why everyone should hate night battles. Essentially, it's a small match. It's a big map. People are really, really likely to get lost, especially without radar. And it is in one of the weirdest matchmakers in the entire game. The weirdest being the greatest imbalance, the greatest inequity, inequality, whatever you want to say. Essentially, the T-2 is at such a strong advantage against a jet like the MiG-15 BIS. Even though the MiG-15 BIS has turning and it has that low speed, the T-2 will never see those low speeds because it just accelerates either too quickly, or if you've done that, it's almost like putting a saber at 150 meters and saying, you know what, at 150 kilometers per hour, the Heinkel 100 can catch up to it and can outdo it in a dogfight. Yes, that's true, but the T2 will always see speeds above the effective speeds of the MiG-15 BIS, and therefore should never face the MiG-15 BIS in combat. Not only that, but the BIS doesn't have any infrared guided missiles, and so it lacks a little advantage that every other jet at that meta gets. Literally every jet apart from, say, the G91R, and I honestly think that the G91R, being a fairly decent fighter, maybe it could go to 8.7, I don't know, I've never actually flown it, but the MiG-15 BIS certainly doesn't belong fighting these jets, and this is exactly where we have a problem with battle rating compression. You see, I'm playing this plane very, very liberally. I'm turning, I'm burning, I'm using up my energy very, very poorly. Yet I'm still getting away with it because I have the radar, I have the guided missiles, and I just have that acceleration. I'm pretty much just bullying these poor MiG-15s and these poor CL-13s. They can't really do much, and it's really, really frustrating as someone who, I want some good competition. I want some challenges. I don't want to sit around and club all day, although that is fun. After a while, it does definitely get boring, and it's definitely not as rewarding as killing, for example, an F-100 in your Hunter F-6. And that's one of the things that the T-2 really lacks is a matchmaking where it can, struggle. I mean, sure, the MiG-19S means that you've got to play a little bit more carefully, and honestly, MiG-19S and T-2 at the moment, even MiG-19 PT isn't too bad a combo, to be honest. Both have their aces and, both see speeds that the other is good and bad at. I think they're a decent match, but I certainly don't think that they're equal. I think the T2 is probably slightly better by actually quite a long shot, so maybe not slightly better, maybe very better. And as you can see, I'm just managing to sit behind this CL. He can't do anything. Maybe he's using his energy poorly because he's got better control at lower speeds, and he could easily make me overshoot. But at the same time, he's at a bit of a numbers disadvantage. So I'm just throwing my plane around, having a good old time. I've got radar. I can spot whoever I want, and I'm just at liberty to farm these people basically. I think the T2 should go to battle rating 10.3, 10.7, and that would be a really good spot for it. The T2 would be sort of out of the way of all the lower jets, such as the CL-13A, the Hunter F1, jets that it otherwise would pretty much seal club. Yet, at the battle rating of, 9.7, 10.7, something around that, it's kind of equal. It's more equal. Until we get planes like the Jaguar, I'm guessing maybe an F-100F, something like that, around the realms of performance of the T2, that being Mach 1.1 on the deck, at least. I think the T2 is probably a little bit before its time. That and a couple of other things that War Thunder has decided to add in the past patch. It's a real interesting phenomenon we get. So we have a period where the vehicles are very, very well balanced against each other. And then suddenly they throw something into the mix. So for example, helicopters. They throw helicopters into the mix, and the T2, for example. these sort of ruin the balance, and then eventually we get back to a case where, you have some semblance of good gameplay again. And, for some people that was patch 1.69, for some people that was the patch right before helicopters, for jet people, it was before the T-2 was added and before the CL-13B. The addition of vehicles that just don't fit the meta or that exceed the meta is a typical Gaijin trait, and it's something that I think Gaijin looking forward needs to be a lot more wary of, because when you get to a stage where you're constantly adding things that supersede each other, you accelerate the meta way, way too fast that other nations just can't catch up. Like, Britain doesn't even have its helicopters yet. Some nations don't have their own native equivalents of things. For example, the Japanese don't have a surface-to-air missile system at all, as far as I'm aware. If there is, do let me know in the comments and I'll correct myself. But certain vehicles need to be added to round out a meta. Certain changes need to happen. For example, the helicopters now, this patch, have to come in close. They have to come in within 3 or so kilometers to make their missiles work. And now, that means that the gun SPAA, in some cases, can actually range the helicopters. Especially vehicles like the Gepard can actually now shoot the helicopters down while the helicopters are within their range. And this essentially just makes surface-to-air missiles something on top of the meta that we don't need. I feel like Gaijin has a big habit of doing this, a really bad habit as well. And one of the things that we need to consider as a community is, what do we suggest for them? Like, what should we work with Gaijin to do? And I think working with Gaijin in this respect is more important than berating them when they do something wrong. Of course they're going to do something wrong. It's Gaijin. We know this. It's a game company as well. Like, I don't know a single game company, apart from like CD Projekt Red, the guys that make Witcher, that have done something critically wrong at all. Honestly, I think it's a matter of just working with them and being patient. In the meantime, just, play something that's a little bit more fun. That's sort of the only way that you can manage it. And, there are other things in the game. Like, we have a lot of vehicles to play around with. For example, I found top tier quite disenchanting recently just because of the prevalence of things like the ADATs. And, I want to use some CAS. So I drop a couple of BRs, go to 8.7, go to 8.0, 7.7. There are some interesting, backup BRs, if you will. And, there's always something. There's always something that you can do. So I wouldn't worry too much. We'll work with Gaijin, discuss things civilly, and perhaps then maybe we can get a result. Maybe we can get a nice result, something to bring the game forward. Obviously, stay calm. Don't take it out on Gaijin too much. Don't yell at them. But anyway, ladies and gents, that's all for today. I'll be on Mystic Man's channel as this video goes up. Remember to have a look at Oxy's store for me, and if you want, hit that join button. I'll be very grateful. Anyway, ladies and gents, that is the T2. That is the Warcrime. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.